Live. I think we got Tommy. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
Good, man. Good, man. Appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I
Yeah.
know it's crazy continuing to create and amongst this COVID-19 thing. And so how are you and your family doing right now?
We're good. Yeah. There's always ups and downs, but I try to separate the two. Like even though it is a family business, I try to keep my head on my shoulders for my business and my head on my shoulders for my family. And
Right.
yeah, we're good. It's a chance for someone that's a little introverted, anyways, to get a chance to get away from the shop. And it's been like about a bit of a reset for us. You know, we've had to kind of change up how we do business, and
Right. Right.
it's it's a nice chance to get creative again.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree. For those of you who don't know, so we're speaking with Tommy from James Dant. And before we get started, Tommy, can you give the people kind of like a background of who Tommy is and what inspired you to get to where you're at right now?
Yeah, I guess who I am. I grew up in Indiana, so I grew up about 20 minutes from where the shop currently is in Indianapolis. We're on the east side in
Right.
Irvington, on the main strip there. But I grew up kind of out in the country. Did a lot of construction when I was younger. Like I grew up around parents who owned pretty white collar businesses,
Right.
or I guess blue collar businesses should be more
Yeah. Yeah.
more
Yeah.
construction and transportation, so blue collar businesses, not white collar. And so I grew up watching them grow these businesses, and I got to be there for a lot of it until I was of the age where I could start working with them. I got
Right.
to watch their work ethic, and I worked construction, doing carpentry work with my dad from like 12 years old on. I would just go to job sites with him and kind of play around until I was of the
Right.
age where I could actually help. And
Right.
then, so for about 10 years on and off, I was doing that. And that is the reason I mentioned that is because it's part of what helped me build this space. Uh,
Right.
all of the build out was done by my father and I. So, grew up there, went to school at Ball State. And I know I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but one of the
No. No.
questions
No.
is
Fine.
what, uh, what I won the award for, and it was for this store. Um, I was in just general business courses up until a certain point, and they made you choose a major. So
Right.
uh, what they were telling us, and what I was hearing kind of around the campus, was the entrepreneurship program was the hardest amongst all business programs, all programs in the college, because it was a pass or fail. And so originally I was like, I could probably leverage the the stuff they give us
Right.
in the entrepreneurship program, and I could work with the military base that they work with and have some kind of proprietary technology and
Okay.
maybe do something that would blow up. But I kept coming back to, I really want to open a clothing store someday.
Right.
And so that's where this kind of took off. Is I decided to take that passion for clothing and the concept that there was nothing in Indiana like this. There was nothing I could reach out and physically be a part of. I had to do
Right.
it digitally. So I started writing the business plan for this store, and that's what led me to this.
That's crazy. So you were already you grew up around the essentially the purpose behind what we call workwear today. You grew up
Yeah,
around that.
yeah, essentially, like, but we were doing such gnarly stuff that I didn't want to like tear any of it up. So, so yeah, I would buy at the time crappy clothes and they'd get torn up, but that workwear mentality, I mean, even my dad wearing Dickies and stuff like that,
Right.
some of it isn't necessarily going to hold up as well as some of the stuff we carry in here, but it fits that vibe.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. So I've never been to Ball State, and it's where you went to school at, and this award-winning business plan that came about with James Dant. I remember when I visited your shop before. The as soon as you walk in, the space to the left, the additional space. Initially, that wasn't there.
Yeah,
Correct.
so we started with the one side. It's totally been an evolution. I mean, from the beginning, if I went back and showed you like the original concept and feasibility analysis, they had us do like, is this even legitimately possible? Which for a clothing store is kind of silly, but I had to show like why mine was going to be unique. If I showed you
Right.
that compared to what it is now, it's insanely different. But the new space was just part of our evolution and something we needed. It was kind of a hiccup in the road. People think,
You're right.
I guess people kind of think it's all sunshine and rainbows, but the step in buying that space or renting that space and renovating it and dumping that money into the space was one of those things where it's like, well, we're doing this well. We do this next
Right.
step. It's only going to take off from there. And it
Right.
actually, we kind of stayed where we were. So we doubled our space and cut our sales per square foot in half and had to figure out how to overcome that hump. But we wouldn't be where we are right now without that happening.
So how'd you do that? So how did you, when you set up the shop? I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but before we talk about the meaning behind James Dant, like how did you insert yourself into the community and market yourself as far as a men's shop?
So I started, it's hard to even go back this far because it's almost 7 years ago now, but
Right.
when I was writing the plan, most of that's the thing about that program, right, is it gives you back what you put into it. It's like everything else, but
Right.
the majority of college for people is like trying to get to Thursday night so they can start drinking
Right.
like,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
and just live the social experiment. But if you actually put a lot into that program, you're essentially you're getting a degree for yourself, right? So if you look at it from that perspective, you should be going and inserting yourself into the community. I was showing up at J. Benzal, if you've heard of that shop in Indianapolis. It's a suiting shop, and
Okay.
it didn't quite sync up. There's not a ton of synergy there because they are doing custom made suits, and it's more about
Right.
the experience of like how it fits once it's done and all of that. But
Right.
you've got to like start somewhere, and there were no men's stores in this city that did anything like what I was going to do. So I went and
Right.
visited him, and that was kind of end of the road in terms of men's shops at the time, unless I'm going to go to more suiting shops, more of these old school shops that have been around for 40 years, which they have a lot to give, but they're also
Right.
kind of stuck in their ways in some sense, and
Right.
a lot of them don't like to share info.
Right.
So I went there first, met him, told him, hey, I'm going to open a store one day. Like, as crazy as it may seem, I'm going to come to Indianapolis and open a store, but it'll be completely different from what you do, and this is why, da da da. And then I started going to other retail shops and seeing how they were doing it, because Indy wasn't known as a city where retail thrived. So
You're right.
to Silver in the City. I even went in when Mass Ave was still, for people who don't know that too, Mass Ave is one of our like cultural hubs. It's one of these spaces that over the course of 7 years has grown astronomically.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, but at that time, there was just a little strip in there. There was some retail. There was a little boutique called Nurture. There's still there, actually, that did children's clothing. There was a boutique next to that. And then there was Silver in the City. And I would even go in Starbucks, and it's insane because it wouldn't be so hard to do now. It's just not something I would do. I would grab people and be like, hey, I want to interview you about the retail scene in Indianapolis, and just did interview after interview talking to people about my concept, what I wanted to do. And that was like the kind of start to all of it. But then I started doing pop-up shops, putting out flyers, working with local boutiques to see what they were doing, and just implementing myself in all these communities that were helping Indy grow, doing shows with Pattern, the magazine in Indianapolis. Just any way I could put myself out there and put my name out there. It didn't even look good at the time. Like, the logo was shit at the time, but I wanted people to see that we were there, and I wasn't going to just stop. I was going to keep implementing myself into the culture.
Oh man, I love this. I love this story, man. So why James Dant? I mean, his name's Tommy. So why James Dant, and where'd that come from?
Yeah, so my full name is Thomas James Dant, and I am the second. My dad is the first, obviously. So it's a little bit of homage to him. I like to tell this story because it's kind of a funny detail. I'll show up at like trade shows in Las Vegas and New York and different places, and people ask that same question, like, "Oh, you're Tommy." Get confused, be like, "What's the James?" Or I'll get called James as I'm walking past the booth. And then someone later tells them, like, "Oh, his name's actually Tommy." And somehow this rumor has spread that it's my grandpa's name, and it's not. I don't know. Like, I'm probably perpetuating that rumor now by saying it out loud on live TV. But it's actually my dad's middle and last name. And it's funny because we have a really big family, so there is a James Dant in the family now, first name. And I'm like, oh, what have I done to this kid? Like, people are going to be so confused once he grows up if I'm still around. But yeah, it's my middle and last name. the initial concept behind that, and a little known fact about that too, is that if you look at James Dant, the letters MEN are in my full name, and then in our first iteration of our logo, it kind of created like a triangle, and the MEN highlighted that. It was red and everything else was black. We eventually found out it was kind of juvenile, and it just didn't really suit us as we grew. We've had multiple iterations of our logo now anyways, but that's a fun little tidbit about it. And also, it everything that everyone told me about owning a business is to put your name on it, to have skin in the game. You see these other stores all over the country, not knocking them because I think it is the norm, right? To not have people know who you are, because if you get to a certain point, like, you don't want to be hit up all the time, the person that people reach out to, but you see the this and the that's, like the for a big brand example, like Scotch and Soda, and you don't know who the owner is behind it. But I was always told, in order to have some skin in the game, put your name on the door. It felt like an old English shop to me, right? Like, places where people have been shopping in England and Ireland and places like that have had the name of the owner that was the original owner on the door for over 100 years. Generations of family have shopped at this place and known that name, so that's why we decided to go with that.
That's dope, man. You got a good history in Indianapolis. My wife, she's from Indianapolis, and we visit often. I love the area. I really do, and we're thinking about actually retiring there eventually here in about 6 years. With everything going on right now, and all this synergy and all this, I guess all this creativeness that you've put into the shop, into your brand, into your name, and what it stands for. And then we have this COVID-19 that was totally unexpected. That's hitting the retail industry, it's hitting the restaurant industry, it's hitting all jobs, it's hitting the economy hard. And so with that, I'm glad you and your family are safe and healthy. So with that, how are you moving forward with your business and your brand? I mean, I've watched the IG stories, and I see people continuing to support small business, which is very important. So how are you coping with that, and how are you surviving?
It's tough, and that, like, I don't know that I see myself as like an optimistic person. I would probably land somewhere in the middle of like the optimist pessimist spectrum. For some reason, as soon as this news dropped, I took the more optimistic stance on it. We had to close our doors on the 16th, and we were just like, we had a very tough decision to make, even with our anniversary party, which was 2 days before that. And you got to think about it from the perspective of being open like almost 362 or 360 days out of the year, somewhere in that range with holidays. Open 7 days a week, used to seeing people every day, all of that. And I just knew that I couldn't roll over and die. I don't know that there's a whole lot of small businesses out there that are doing that right now, but I think people may be using it as an excuse to take some time off. And I think mentally I am a little bit. It's a shift in mentality to be working, and it's we don't have any interruptions, I guess, is
right.
Like we can spend so much time working on the back end of the business, and a lot of that has gone by the wayside over the last couple of years as we've grown, and as we've had to come in the morning and try to fulfill these orders, and then people are coming in, and we were at a really critically strong point in our business right now too. Like, we'd grown 50, almost 60% in the first 2 months of the year. I think coming into even the third month until this hit, we were still up 60%. And so to have that is, for one, a blessing. Like, we had that build up. I had some extra cash flow, smacked in the face, and like, oh, we're going to start doing like a third of what we were doing on a regular day. And having to shift a business that is so much touch and feel, so much in-person interaction, to digital sales is tough. But the support has remained strong. We have days where we come in and we're just shocked by the amount of orders that are sitting there. And it's really nice because a lot of the times we don't necessarily see direct correlation to the work we're doing through social media. It's more just like, hey, we're here. Check it out. Now it's, check out these Square Trade Goods incense, and then I come into 2 orders for them the night of. We got to find ways to keep capitalizing on that and showing people the product that we really truly love, and seeing it turn into sales. It's a unique feeling. Luckily, I live within biking distance to my house, walking distance to my house, and one of my employees does too. So we've been able to keep that up. We've been sanitizing the spaces, and every time the mail people come to the door, we sanitize the boxes, and do those things that we need to be doing to keep ourselves and our customers safe. But I think there's a very dramatic and thin line between like completely giving up and not being able to fulfill shipments, and taking at least a few risks right now to keep up what we're doing, or it's just going to completely, people will forget about us if we're not here, if we're not shipping product out still.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I know a lot of the community appreciates it too, because your shop, aside from it being a great men's shop, it's a community for all your clients, all the people around, and you've built that space up to provide that type of niche. And I've seen you more on the IG and more doing the launching of new items and new products coming in. And so, how was that an adjustment? Because correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we see you in pictures all the time. We see the beautiful gray coming out all the time. We see that. So, but on IG, on stories, showing your face and talking to the people, and even this interview right now, how smooth was that transition for you?
Pretty smooth. I mean, I think the one thing we've done is, I don't know that everyone necessarily knows it's me when first looking into the brand, but the reality is, like, it's out of necessity more than anything. Like, I'm sure there's the same way there is with everyone else. There's a little bit of ego in getting to get pictures of yourself taken. Like, everyone loves that free photo shoots. Like, it's the world we live in with IG, but it's almost become the opposite for me. Like, my wife does all of our photo shoots, which has been incredible synergy, but she'll come in and I'll be like, oh, fuck, like I gotta steam this stuff and put it on, and she'll look at me and be like, you look like you're bored right now, you look like you're sleepy, like fix your face, stuff like that. So it becomes a task. And even like Zach, we've been trying to feature Zach more in the pictures, and employee Will and a few of the other people in here. And it's a task. Like, models get paid for a reason. They're good at what they do. But it's completely a symptom of, a symptom of what we have available to us. And that's, I'm available for free to put this stuff on right now to show it off. And so that transition is fairly easy. I mean, I've done things throughout my life. I've been on stages. I danced when I was a kid. I had to do so many pitches for this thing and for this competition. I keep pointing back here because there's plaques back here that like show it off, and I tend to do that when I'm in the space. But I had to get up in front of people a lot, and they recorded us every time. And so each time it got easier. And then at the end of it all, they put us in a green screen studio and filmed this thing Shark Tank style for the first time they ever did it too. So they called this thing the Bird Cage. It sounds a little weak compared to Shark Tank, but that was what I won like my second set of awards for the business. I won that, and they gave me like a little bit of startup cash, which I used to do the pop-up shops. But circling back around, that all made it easier for this transition. I'm fairly used to being in front of the camera. I still get into my my repetitiveness where I use the same things over and over again. The IGTV just put up earlier, I said details like 6,000 times in it. So I'm constantly thinking about and working on that and trying to fix my words and I think it'll be good practice in like storytelling, which I've always wanted to be better at storytelling. So I'm using it all as an opportunity to grow and learn and continue to help our business.
Yeah, I think so too. I think storytelling is I mean, that's the selling point of you. I mean, you got to kind of sell yourself. You got to sell the brand.
We tell stories every day in the store.
Yeah, it's the story. It's the journey. And I admire that too, because for us as a brand who does not have a brick and mortar, it's good to see someone's dedication who's doing the same things that we've done. We've done the Shark Tanks, if you will. You know, we've done the pop-ups, and it's constant. It's out of necessity that we have to post these things. We have to take pictures ups, and it's constant. It's out of necessity that we have to post these things. We have to take pictures. I mean, we have my daughter taking pictures of us. You know, and it's awesome because everybody's included. And the same thing, like your wife, like fix your face. You know, doesn't look right. Take it over now. The light's not right, and so it becomes a family grind, but it also becomes a story. You know,
There's things in there like family can say to you that other people can't too. So
yeah,
I think it creates a nice synergy, a nice just it reads different, I think, when you have someone that can correct you and tell you to suck it in and do all those things.
yeah, you're right, man. I think, you tell me how you think. I believe that there's a need for people in your life when you're a business owner that has a lot of responsibility of a lot of things, a lot of moving parts. That you need those people who are going to tell you straight, hey, no, that doesn't look right, or that's not going to work, or you know, you're thinking sideways or left field. So,
constantly, yeah, you're gonna constantly be bouncing ideas off of people because it's so easy to get so tunnel vision at what you're doing.
Right.
It's nice to have those people. So yeah, I mean, this has always been a family business.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I appreciate that. And so, you know, this is Denim Story. So we're literally talking about the process, the motivation, the reflection behind how we grind every single day with our businesses, and the meaning behind it. So, what is your most prized denim piece that you have that's in your rotation?
Oh, it's tough. There's two of them, but I've really over the last 2 years fallen in love with Naked and Famous.
Mm-hmm.
They've done something for the culture and for bringing Japanese product to America, subverted Canada essentially. But yeah, like they've changed the culture in America and in Canada. And I think on top of it, really worked on the fits and giving people where you see a lot of brands stick to like iconic fits. They're very focused on history, and that's all they care about. And they don't put their own twist on it. Where they do and create fits using these materials that are just getting a spam call. But yeah, brands you're seeing get back on train of thought here. But the reason I love Naked and Famous so much is because of all those things I've said. And to answer the original question, I have two pieces. One that I can't quite squeeze myself into right now. They did this pair called the King of Slub, and I worked really hard to break these things in. They were the slubbiest denim I've ever seen. And they're just incredible. The fades are out of this world. The texture is beautiful. They're so heavy that they really feel like you're wearing something substantial. But they released a Made in Japan 5 pair that I wore for about 8 months straight, and it's a brown weft, indigo upper, and it's dyed with. I'm spacing what the name of them is right now, but they're like oranges. What they dyed them with.
Really?
Yeah. They used persimmons. Zach just reminded me to dye the weft, and all of the details are really beautiful. All the things you see from Japanese denim, where they have the fun ticker. It's a really skinny selvage ID. The fit is impeccable. The way they faded is beautiful, and that's probably the pair that I faded the most over the last 2 years. And I put them they're just spot on. So they're kind of taking a rest right now because I'm breaking in another pair. But that is my prized possession at the moment. And it's funny because I do have access to all this crazy stuff, right? I've got access to like the Momotaros and I'm gonna break in a pair of Momotaros very soon. I got that, and I'm working with all these brands that are selling denim at these higher price points, and I'm over here breaking in like the $275 pairs, like 50 that range, and it's just easy. Once you find a fit you really fall in love with, it's really easy to keep going back to that.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Awesome. So, throughout this whole interview and these this series of denim stories that we're just trying to build community with and engage with brands and people like yourself. So what does the term denim stories mean to you?
So I think we all kind of, anybody uh, can't think of the right word to say, who dives into this, there we go, word it that way. Anybody who dives into this world um, has that one pair that fits them like a glove and has some
Right.
kind of uh, resonance to that pair, something that really, they have a story, right? Like that's what it
Mhm.
is. It's denim stories. They have some story to go along with a time they were wearing it, or something about breaking it in, or
Right.
they discovered this brand. It's why there are the Reddit forums out there. It's why people geek out and nerd out over this stuff. I
Right.
think everyone has a story, even if they're not. And that I kind of limited it to the people that are in love with selvage. I guarantee there's people out there that don't even have selvage that are in love with their denim and
Oh
have some
yeah.
story that goes along with it.
Oh
I
yeah.
remember,
I agree.
I remember seeing a commercial for one of the major brands when I was a kid, and they were kind of showing that like this guy lost a pair of denim in the commercial. I think this is one of my first like memories of like really digging denim. But he had broken them in
Right.
quickly, right? Like there was like a coffee stain on them, and he lost the pair and went through all this trouble like quickly to try to get the pair back. He bought a new pair and tried to get it back to where it was. But it was essentially like telling that story of being a denim lover, and I think so many of us are denim lovers. It just happens naturally because it's such a part of our culture.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure, man. We were in Costa Rica for Christmas a few years ago, and I took a couple pair of my denim there, and they had this. We were at Cocoa Beach. That was the area we were in Costa
Yeah.
Rica, and they had a beach that was just volcanic sand. It was like really dark, muddy, tarish type sand. It was awesome. So I was like, yes, bet we're gonna wash the denim at the beach, which is my favorite time to wash the denim, right? And so washed the denim. I was out there playing with the dog, scrubbed them, rinsed them off, and took them back to the Airbnb. And I freaked out because they were hanging, and it was like a family owned Airbnb, and so the aunt of the Airbnb, if you will, she dried my denim. She put them in the dryer. Freaked out because I couldn't find them, and so I'm like, "Oh, babe, I don't know where they're at." And it's like you become connected to this pair of denim, and you've been living with it for so long, and it has all these memories and stories. But long story short, they've been washed a couple times, so putting them in the dryer didn't really hurt them. But the fades came out beautiful. But I freaked out. My
Yeah.
wife, she was looking at me like I was bugging, but it was a real thing.
That may be something that like transfers to both worlds too. It's hard to be living in this world where like we love clothing so much and we see it in a certain way, but I
Hmm.
attach memories to clothing, and I think people do that to different things, uh,
Right.
even senses like sounds and smells and stuff. But
Hmm.
I can
Hmm.
look at a pair and remember where it's been, or a pair of shoes and think
Hmm.
about like where those things have walked, and I think that's ultimately what like them stories is for most people, is those memories we attach to
Yes,
something
sir.
that is with us almost every day.
Yeah, yeah, man, for sure. Awesome, man. Well, man, I appreciate your time
Sure.
and your content. I appreciate your story too, man. Like, it was some things I didn't know that now more so. Like, I'm falling more in love with the James Dant brand, and the story behind your name is awesome too. So I'm never gonna forget that. But thank you for your knowledge and just sharing your time with us in community.
Sure. I appreciate you doing this with us, man. It's been fun. It's fun to explore these new avenues of reaching out to people on Instagram.
Yeah, man. And so as soon as the shelter in place is lifted and we're able to travel to Indy again, I'm gonna make sure I stop through and hit you up so we can get some coffee and continue chatting some more, man.
Yeah, for sure. I'm so excited for that to happen.
I know, because we were supposed to be there. Man, it was uh, well this weekend we were going to be there coming
Yeah,
up.
we're set to leave next weekend to go see the boys at Naked and Famous. So like
Right.
yeah, it's weird times, man, but we'll get through it. We didn't do a super great job reading through all their comments, but
Yeah, I know.
we got too
I,
involved.
I really think there was limited comments because I mean the conversation was dope, man. So
Sure.
yeah, you're easy to listen to too, man. It's great. So we might do part two with you
That
down
would be
down
rad.
the line.
I'm always down.
Oh man, all right, man. Appreciate you, man. Enjoy your rest of your day. Cheers to the family. Make sure you guys are staying safe, and we'll talk to you soon, Tommy.
Yeah, same to you, man. Stay safe out there. See you
All
later.
right, man. Yep. See you guys.